We don't need no stinking transmitters.
That is correct. We have no need of transmitters here. Welcome to Knoxville, Tennessee Area News, part of the much larger Reconstructionist Radio News Network that has podcasts spread throughout the United States, Canada, and into Australia. I'm your host, John Cummins. This program features local news stories from the Knoxville, Morristown, Sevierville metropolitan area of Tennessee. We bring you news with an ethical, judicial perspective that you may not have previously considered. The background music you hear is called Desert Rain from the excellent Dutch band Trinity. You can find their music at bandtrinity.com. Let's get on with the news. Now, with the admonition to go first to Jerusalem, then to Judea, then to Samaria, and then to the uttermost parts of the world, the news today starts at this Jerusalem, Newmarket, Tennessee, where I live. Judea being Jefferson County, Samaria being Knoxville, and the uttermost parts being the 13-county area around Knoxville. Starting at the city of Newmarket, we have a new property tax, where there was none. This evidently happened back in June, as far as legislatively in the alderman's meeting. One of my neighbors was telling me back then about it, but I didn't know if this was really true or not. This alone points out the importance of getting involved locally so we can possibly stop some of these things from happening. But Newmarket, this small city of 500 or so, now has a city property tax. Now, we already have a property county tax in Jefferson County that we pay that primarily supports the state or government schools. But the city tax evidently is not for that purpose. This happened, like I said, in the middle of the summer. But I got a bill in the mail about 3 weeks ago, and then they had an October meeting about 2 weeks ago of concerned citizens that were very upset about the new budget and this new city property tax. Of course, my first response was, what am I getting back for this? And what is a property tax is another question that could be asked, but why this tax and why at this point in time where there was none at all? And again, what's in return for this? Well, the new mayor of Knoxville, when he took office, he found out that the Newmarket owed $200,000 that was missing from the state street aid fund, and also another $250,000 to the IRS for unpaid payroll taxes. Now, of course, my question here would be missing monies that are missing. A very small city with monies missing, monies owed to the IRS, and then the IRS. These are all questions that pop in my mind. If money's missing, who took it? So it brings up some questions that I would like to look at in these news episodes. Questions such as, who is in charge here? To whom do I report, or to whom does this person report in the article? What are the rules, and what happens if the rules are obeyed or disobeyed? What happens to the person or persons? And does the outfit have a future? In this case, does Newmarket, the city of Newmarket, have a future? If we supposedly owe this money to the IRS, I wasn't aware that cities owed money to the IRS, but could we not just disincorporate? Do we need to have a city? Questions like this can pop in your mind on just a little simple news item like this, but it can affect us locally because the people here in Newmarket, I can assure you, are not wealthy people. And the businesses, one business, a golf course down the street, their bill comes out to $3,000. Now that can affect a small business. And at this meeting a week ago, most of the concerns appear to have been local businesses and maybe some farms. The farms were asking for a 25% break. The businesses were asking to be de-annexed. But one of the aldermen mentioned, one of the new aldermen, Chris Fair, he objected to any request for de-annexation from the city. He said, how would the council decide who pays tax and who doesn't? None of us are happy to pay property tax. But to Chris, I would say that's probably very true. But none of us are happy with a property tax where there was none, especially when it appears that maybe some graft or maybe corruption or people not doing their jobs are why we are having to pay this new tax. Further things will happen in November, evidently. This next meeting, Monday night, the day before the election on the 5th, there'll be a meeting. Whether or not anything can be done at that meeting here in Newmarket, I do not know. They will discuss the budget a little, so they say. And then again, on the 17th of November, once again, this budget may be looked at. The vote was, back in June, was 4 of the 5 aldermen evidently voted for it, and 1 abstained. Well, the person who abstained, I think he's up for re-election. He may be a neighbor of mine. He is a neighbor of mine. I will, before the next episode, I will try to get an update on this and attempt to get to the meeting, because my wife assures me we need to be going to these meetings because these taxes do affect us very much. So, this is just an example of how local local news can affect us. And so we do need to think locally. This is why we have a local area news network across the nation and then on into Canada and Australia and probably all over the world before it's over, because the Reconstructionist news network is serious about localization and being local. Again, the questions of who, when, what, where, how, why are all very important, but so are these other questions. Who's in charge here? To whom do I report? What are the rules? What happens if I obey or disobey the rules? And does the outfit have a future? So going on into the second news item, let's move on into Judea, so to speak, and that's Jefferson County and on into Samaria, which is even a couple other counties. There, my representative, who is running for re-election, is a fellow named Andrew Farmer. He's a lawyer. I'm not exactly sure which kind, but be that as it may, he is a lawyer, a Republican. He's been serving for a few years down in Nashville, and it's a 17th District State House race. But the article says that he has been endorsed. He's received an endorsement from the TEA. Now, the TEA is the Tennessee Education Association. I bring up this news item because you'll read articles and you assume when you read them that everything in it is good. So this article starts talking about, well, actually the TEA's website talks about how it's the largest professional organization. It represents tens of thousands of elementary and secondary teachers, school administrators, education support professionals, higher education faculty, students preparing to become teachers. Its mission is to protect and advocate on behalf of students, educators, members, in order to create great public schools that prepare everyone for success in a global society. Well, there's a lot of buzzwords in there, but some of the questions that need to be asked are, does it prepare students for great success in a global society? Questions like, what is a global society? Is that what we want? Is that what students need to have even? But if you go further in the article, it points out that Representative Farmer has been a champion for all these people, and he's received the endorsement of this TEA, and that's a very, very positive thing. And the students are all real ready for the Tennessee Ready testing problems, and this is a really big thing. Under his leadership, Farmer's, our state recently ranked in the top 10 in percentage increases for K through 12 education expenditures, outpacing the national average increase in teacher salaries. Okay, so the amounts of money are being vastly increased under this Republican House, Republican Senate, and Republican governor. So an increase in education expenditure. The question would be, are these expenditures worth it? Has a cost-benefit analysis been done? Are students better prepared? Are they better prepared than the rest of the nation? Are they ready for the global economy? And any of those questions are good. So the big question is an endorsement from the TEA actually a good endorsement or maybe a bad endorsement? On the website, and I will have these assignments that will help look a little more into the National Education Association. This one book is called The NEA, Trojan Horse in American Education by Samuel L. Blumenfeld. I would encourage you to get and read this book if you would like to find out a little more on the National Education Association. For the Tennessee and Virginia, I think, education associations, there's a fine book by Suzanne Clark called Blackboard Blackmail. that goes a little bit further into this organizations, and you can decide for yourself, is this a good endorsement? Should an endorsement like that make you want to vote for a man like Representative Andrew Farmer? Not talking about the political parties here, just looking at this. Actually, it's a union. The TEA is a teachers' union. But does it do what it says? Is it helping children in any way, shape, or form? On to the third news item. And this third news item has to do with Knoxville, Knox County, which is actually on into some area, not really the uttermost parts, but this has to do with our new mayor in the county, and it's the new mayor is Glenn Jacobs, who some of you might know as Kane, as the wrestler on TV or wherever he was. But he's he's a new mayor, and they've been having troubles down in Knox County with the county suing itself over pensions. So some of the actual taxpayers have had to shell out nearly $300 an hour for lawyers in Knox County over pensions that some of the law enforcement are pretty much demanding. So the county's really suing itself, according to billing records that were obtained by the USA Today network, and through the public records request in Tennessee. It's doubly expensive because the law director and the pension board have hired outside lawyers to fight this convoluted lawsuit. It's already up to over $500,000 and just climbing rapidly. So these are taxpayers paying for lawyers at over $300 an hour for the last, way back, I guess it's since the fall of 2017. And it's about pensions. And Glenn Jacobs, the new mayor of Knox County, seems to be a fiscal conservative, and he is trying to. He's proposing a settlement that he hopes will end this lawsuit because it's just simply too expensive. So, but this is an example of what happens in these cities at the local level. Is they end up suing themselves and doing rather foolish things, but it's the taxpayer who ends up paying and footing these bills. Now, this is basically all I have for this episode, but if you look on the webpage, you'll see the assignment of those two books, and I will have more information about the Samaria, Judea, in other words, about New Market City, Jefferson County, at Knoxville, and the outermost area, the counties that surround Knoxville proper. So thank you for listening to this first episode of the Knox Area News.